And we earn game number 3. And let's see, it is, yeah, it is migration. It is actually migration. So NCs are going for it, and they are really expert on this map. But let's see if CZs can overcome that expertness by their own skill on water maps. Yeah, migration is a bit different than islands, as islands are bit more concentrating on the water, but here you also need to apply quite a lot of strategy when you want to land and how to control the landing altogether. So let's see. We don't really need the fog of war on this map, as obviously it's kind of useless in here. With looking at the civilizations, we have Persians, Vikings, and Japanese for both teams, so that's going to be yet another mirror. And very nice choice of civilizations, and we should be seeing Persians booming quite nicely, hoping to advance onto the mainland quite soon and building town centers as soon as they reach the castle age. Looking at the map so far, do we see some kind of problem on the water? Well, not all that much. I see literally fish everywhere. Potentially that could be a bit of a problem for a yellow player if he builds his dock somewhere here. That's quite a lot of emptiness. He does have enough on the left though, so not anything long run, but if he places his dock incorrectly at the very early stage of the game, he could be having a bit of a later time into the next age, but shouldn't be all that much of a problem, especially since he's Persian and not the Viking. Red player at the same time is having pretty nice placement, he doesn't have any kind of problem with the amount of fish, and he could be set about anybody else, potentially also for teal if he went for some super aggressive dock. And this is kind of interesting because looking at the Teal Island and Red Island, they are definitely very close to each other, and it usually doesn't happen on migration. You usually have some kind of peninsulas like here that are a bit more into the water, basically dividing the islands of the opponents, and well, this is not happening in here, and it could be a bit of a problem potentially for him, especially looking at the... Oh, this is a sucky gold placement, not because of the trees in here, he can actually cut through that, that's not much of a problem, but the fact that it's right next to the water, and if he happens to lose the water, he's basically out, because he doesn't have any kind of gold beside that, and yeah, oh my, NCs definitely need to win the water, because if they don't, they are in a heap of troubles, but at the same time, it's pretty much the same for the red player, as if he loses the water, he's going to be under fire from bottom and top as well, and not going to be having any safe gold at all. So yep, this is quite interesting map, as it seems to be the theme in here. Also for Pedro, who is also going to be having unsafe gold altogether, and well, that's really something, as water is going to be a bit more important than it usually is on migration. I mean, it is important because in the early stages of the game, it can limit the opportunity to actually land and also the water economy, but when you land, you basically don't need the water all that much because the most resources are in there, and yeah, you can basically make do even without efficient boats. So this gold is safe for the purple player. For yellow, it's unfortunate that it's behind the tree line, but at the same time it's at least safe from the water, at least in the feudal age and potentially even castle age, I think. Could be problematic in Imperial, but in Imperial age he already won't mind all that much, as he should be entering the mainland, and since he's a pocket, or rather he isn't, sorry, he's actually facing Andoran on the right side, it's probably not going to be mattering all that much. You can see Persian against Persian. It's going to be quite interesting to see the battle in here, with docks already being dropped, and both are quite offensive, so it seems like that both Andoran and Skull are having quite a lot of self-confidence on this map. Another gold placement by Follow Your Mind is also unfortunate, but since he's a pocket, the same as Pedro, I'm kinda thinking that he might not be worrying all that much about it, but still, it is also in the unsafe department. You can see that Follow Your Mind has built his first dock at the bottom, potentially hoping that he can help Skull at the bottom, whereas Yannick is probably going to be having a bit of a 1v1 at the top. Quite interesting that he's building a defensive dock. I would be kind of expecting that he will be a bit more adventurous going for a dock like about here. Probably going to be a second dock from him there. But, well, this is interesting placement, as he's probably thinking that he will be under attack very soon. But, well, he's of course going to be Viking against the Japanese, so that should be a bit of an advantage for him. Sniper has built his dock, also kind of defensively minded, because he definitely could have went for a dock about here, or even here, wouldn't be really all that bad placement, but he thinks that he needs to take things a bit more carefully, and he definitely needs to, and this dock placement, sorry, is of course going to help him quite a lot with the fish economy, and yeah, due to that, it's not a bad idea to place the dock like this. Looking at the blue player, who is having dock literally the farthest reach of his island. Interesting, trying to get as much into the corner as he can, and that's also pretty interesting as he's kind of telling you that he is much more interested in the water economy, and also, well, wouldn't be really surprised if he went for the early advance into Castle Age, but usually from Vikings you see some early feudal galley rushes, so let's see. We have a bit of a pause right now, so let's look around the map. For example, on the mainland, about the distribution of the mines, quite a lot of stone in here on the right. That's a ton of stone. 1, 2, 3, 4 mines of stone actually on the... Oh wow, 5 mines of stone on the right. So that's kind of interesting and could be helping NCs quite a lot. And they have at least 1 gold in here, but usually you want quite a lot of gold on your side, and this is so far true for CZ, so they are, I think, having a bit better spawn in here, as the gold is the resource that is key on the mainland. Quite a lot of gold also in the middle, so it's not like the map is somehow decidedly unfair for NCs. So yeah, not really any kind of problem, but just 1 stone in here could be a bit problematic if the game drags second stone mine. So yeah, we'll see if some of the teams is going to be faster than their opponents and will be deciding the game before that is actually needed. We see some advances into Feudal Age from Andorin, Skull and Sniper, so it seems like that NCs are off to a better start. With Pedro going for 23 villagers, so he's probably going to be jumping into the Castle Age exactly as we're expecting. As he is the one going for quite a lot of them, follow your mind as well. So it seems like that the Japanese from CZ clan and Vikings from NC are going to be advancing it through Castle Age reasonably fast. Looking in here, this villager is going to be building second dock. Yeah, just about here. Definitely hoping that he can put his opponent Andorin out of position sometime soon. But looking how he right now sees that he is going to be later. Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a problem because the Persian on the right side is already having 2 docks, building a house. Unfortunately for him, he's probably housed right now. 24 at 30, and well, he doesn't want to be housed before it's ultimately necessary, because yeah, he knows right now that he is having the advantage in faster advance time, and he definitely aims to make most of it that he can. Second dock right now by Skull. Probably going to be building yet another dock after the house. Let's just wait for that. As he's already under attack from the galley rush, of course, and yeah, third dock being built, and it's a bit of a problem because he might not be able to finish it at all if actually Andorin notices, which he does. Yeah, so he's going to be trying to kill the villager, but he needs to be right now careful because first boat is already out by Skull, and second should be following close behind. Yannick advancing into Feudal Age just about now, follow your mind also going for a loom. Interesting. Interesting choice right now, probably going to be needing it a bit later, but kind of probably thinks that better safe than sorry, even just now. And yeah, you can see that the third dock is right now being denied to Skull, and that's a whole lot of problems because you can see that Andorin is already having 3, which should result in a pretty strong upper hand for him and pretty tough situation for the yellow player in here. He's going to be probably building docks somewhere at the backside right now. Would be fully expecting it because he cannot really fight. And he's building it a bit more up to the shoreline. It should be reasonably safe, looking at he has having at least a few boats in here. But if he loses them just defending the extra dock, he might be finding himself in a pretty tough situation. And even though he finishes right now, yeah, the battle should be quite decidedly going for Andorin in here. At the top, we see already fighting. And yet another dog denial to Yannick, but he already has 3 dogs, so it should be more than enough. And with the 4th being finished as a Viking, he should be having the upper hand against his Japanese opponent. And right now it's 3 boats against 3. It seems to be pretty much okay, but Yannick should be careful as he is having almost that Willy, and yeah, with the reinforcements arriving at the battlefield, Sniper is, at least temporarily, I don't really think this is going to be a lasting situation, having an upper hand. Yeah, you can see that Andorin, or rather, Yannick should be having enough boats to defend against that right sometime soon. Let's switch into Yannick and have a look how many galleys is he actually building. Yeah, quite a lot of them. And well, he seems to be doing quite well with this micro, even though you can see that Sniper is also kiting a bit, but it doesn't seem to be yielding enough results to justify calling this game going better for Sniper. It seems like the water battle in here at the top is kinda in a stalled situation, whereas in the middle we already see that Skull is retreating from his position, as he is losing quite badly to his opponent Andorin, and Andorin is already also making his way into the middle, which is a bit of a problem for CZs, because Follow Your Mind is going to be having his water economy disrupted, as he is not ready to fight with anything at all right now. So that's a lot of problems for him, as he was hoping for some sweet advancing through Castle Age and having quite nice boom. He's having 28 fishing boats, with Pedro having 29. And yeah, you can see that Follow Your Mind is already slinging into Yannick and hoping that he can propel him to the next age and to War Galleys sometime soon. So yeah, this is a problem in here, but well, a bit more of a problem is right next to CZ Skull's base, as he's having enough boats in there. He's going for market, so he might be interested actually in sending or rather selling, or maybe even slinging. Having quite a lot of galleys, and he's probably just waiting for the correct moment. And with Andorin still sending everything in, might be finding himself in a bit of a trouble, finding exactly that. Going to be having Fletching sometime soon, just about now. He's deploying at pretty much the correct moment, and yeah, this is turning the battle around quite well, as if he can supply enough boats faster than his opponent, he will be in a pretty good spot, but he needs to build extra houses, as he's right now, unfortunately for him, housed, and that's something that he did not expect, and it could actually be a bit problematic for him, because it could have meant that this galley was already like 70% down, and well, so far it isn't, and it's also forcing Skull to retreat yet again, as he doesn't have enough boats to fight against his purple opponent, so Andorin doing quite well indeed at the bottom, and really making life very difficult for Skull, and I'm kinda worried for him that he might not be having enough to defend against his opponent. Finally, you can see that Follow Your Mind is recognizing that he needs to join in, as he both needed to defend himself and his economy, and also needs to help his yellow teammate, who is advancing into Castle Age. But Pedro is also going into Castle, Yannick as well, and Sniper is going to be following close behind. At the top, Yannick is doing quite a good job, but of course he was Viking against a Japanese, so that was kinda expected. And he seems to be building yet another dock that's going to be a 5th already, if I'm counting this correctly. Yes, I am. And well, he seems to be definitely aiming for total control of the water at the top. So let's see if he can actually wait for the correct moment. Probably can. With Pedro also making some extra galleys in here, hoping that he can join in the water battles sometime soon. And well, here we see that Skull has actually retreated from the main battle at the bottom, and is hoping that he can do at least a bit of raiding onto the opponent, but probably not all that much, as yeah, you can see that Pedro is already preparing with some galleys of his own. There are going to be war galleys reasonably soon, with Yannick also going for them. Follow Your Mind advancing into castle, so that's going to be absolutely everyone in the castle age, but a big problem still being present in CZ Skull's base, because yeah, he cannot defend against this, and he will be needing quite a lot of help from his green teammate. Green is already attempting to land. He seems to be quite successful, and it doesn't seem like that yellow, or rather yellow, will lead this purple army there soon enough, but at the same time, this is going to be telling the purple player and NCs all together that there is already a landing going on, and yeah, you can see that's a bit of a problem, and of course NCs are right now aware that they need to be careful and they need to land as soon as possible as well. A lot of war galleys right now trying to corner yellow, which definitely they will, and those war galleys from him are going to be coming to the bottom of the sea very soon indeed, and well, even with the extra help from Sniper, this is just going to be pretty strong navy on the top for Red to deal with, and he will be forced to be quite careful, as he is going to be facing a double, whereas at the bottom, yeah, yellow is just waiting for the correct moment with green to engage into purple as well. So yeah, right now red has to retreat, with green already having the scout quite nicely positioned in here, hoping that he can actually find something, but in the meantime he's having a bit of a fun trying to kill the economy, and yeah, this is exactly the problem that I was talking about at the very early stage of the game. That the gold right next to the water is a problem once you lose the water, of course, because it will deny the gold, and quite a lot of dead villages already on the wood line. That's like 5 villages dead, and that's also quite nasty for the teal player. So nicely played right now by Yannick, who is basically trying to control the situation, but right now he will have to be careful as opponent is already coming in with some reinforcements to defend what is his, and yeah, this is exactly what he should be doing. In the middle, there's still a lot of bit of a battle going on between Andorin's normal galleys, they are not war galleys, going to be in like half a minute, and well, he is going to be encountering quite a lot of fireboats by the yellow player, which should be quite enough to get rid of him. At the bottom, the fire ships are going to be in a pretty good position. I kind of think that if Skull can build quite a lot of them, quite a bit more of them, which he seems to be exactly into his jog, and deploy them at the correct moment, he could be overcoming the war galleys in just a matter of moments because of the pretty big pierce armor. Of course, fire ships are direct counter to them and pretty strong one. And yeah, that could be something that would be working for them quite nicely. At the same time, there's already a landing by yellow onto the mainland as he is arriving in with a bit of wolfy position in here, and he's hoping that he can find some pretty good spot for his DCs somewhere safe and sound. Green is already quite nicely with the town center right next to the gold, going for monastery, so that's going to be probably a standard for Japanese monastery, and then a bit of samurais from castles, and he's already in the middle, also scouting a bit by the sheep. On the right side, the first to land is Steel, building a house in here, trying to find some sweet spot for a town center, which is going to be right next to the gold. And is he actually seeing that? Let's have a look at Sniper and his line of sight. And no, he doesn't, because he didn't have any kind of landing in here before, so he doesn't know where the gold is. So he's probably going to drop the TC right next to the stone or next to the tree line. But here, yeah, this is not a bad. This is not a bad placement for a town center due to the scouting line, or rather line of sight that he had before. But water battle at the top is going quite strong, as both Pedro and Sniper are having a pretty large amount of navy. And they are fighting just one Yannick, but Yannick seems to be having quite enough in his numbers to repel what is coming his way, and seems to be doing quite well against two opponents, just one. But I kinda thinking that he's actually slunk. He was slunk at least a bit before. So let's see if it's going to be true still. Whereas at the bottom, Skull is just waiting for some better moment to actually engage with his fireboats. He doesn't have all that many of them, and it doesn't seem like that he's continuing with their production all that much. He does have something hidden in there, but probably not all that something that would be deciding for the game. So I'm kinda thinking that he might be actually giving up on the water a bit. Here you can see that he isn't even building anymore, so he might be interested in just transporting as many boats as he can, and he also did have, well, nicely played, something hidden at the back, and looking at how many there actually are, and with those actually deployed in the middle, well, he is in a pretty good spot to deny Andorin the water altogether. If he can actually join with those three as well, he would be in a pretty good spot to take care of the navy of the purple player altogether. Follow your mind actually slinging into Skull as well as a pocket. Well, he's having a pretty strong economy, 50 fishing boats is quite a lot. And he seems to be doing quite well so far, with having the most villages as well, 56, because he was the first to land and have an extra TC. So pretty good job. And also trying to disrupt the reinforcements by Pedro, so this is a pretty good job by him, basically denying any kind of help in here. And this means that he should be having a bit easier time on the left, but so far it doesn't seem so. And really, this is kind of an ending battle, which is not all that bad for CZ, I have to say, because it's engaging Andorin quite strongly, which is preventing him from landing as well. So I'm kind of thinking that this is well played by CZ, even though it doesn't seem so, because right now they are on the land and they are going to be having advantage with the economy in there. Already second PC being built by the Persian, which is definitely pretty strong from him, as he will be attempting to go Castle Age and of course Paladins, which is something that you do. And well, just one player so far from NC is being landed, and that's Sniper, doing a pretty good job of that, but a bit slower than his opponents, of course. At the top, Pedro with him are still unsuccessfully attempting to stop Yannick from being a strong presence on the water, but it's of course not going to be all that easy with Imperial Age being from Yannick already in and from Pedro, so that's going to be a lot of galleons from both of them. And really not really all that strong from NCs, because Sniper is having just 4 galleys. I'm kinda thinking that they should be having enough numbers right now. I don't really see all that many from the red player, but the problem is that they are actually fighting right next to his docks, which means that his replacements are going to be all that much faster. See that he is quite ready exactly for that, so he's playing it very cleverly. Also landed finally on the left side of the island and trying to develop his land play as well. In the meantime, Purple has found his way into the middle in here a bit, as he is facing, or rather trying to destroy economy of Follow Your Mind, but so far not really all that successfully, as he is not about to give up on this, and he's having quite a lot of his own war galleys and also some fire ships trying to at least stall his opponent. I don't really think he's attempting to stop him all that much, just stall him, buying time, especially to Skull, to properly develop in the middle and advance into the Imperial Age, which he is halfway there and going already for the Bloodlines and Paladins very soon. So far nicely played from CZ. You can see that Pedro is already joining Sniper on the mainland with his first TC, but we still don't see any kind of extra military buildings for a Sniper, and I'm kind of worried about them because of that, because obviously having 3 TCs is nice, but without any kind of military you will be facing quite a lot of problems with your opponents. It's faster than you. At least Monastery, so that's going to be some conversion of knights. That's definitely something that is a correct strategy, obviously, because they are expecting Skull to be having quite a lot of knights soon. But, well, they are going to be paladins, actually, with some extra support, potentially from green. Well, not exactly sure if green is going to be supporting, because obviously follow Your Mind is slinging. It might not be enough, even against that army. Very nicely positioned castle, though, by Skull, which should result in basic control of the strait, as he will be having a very nice defensible position, and looking at the sheer amount of fire ships by green pumped out into the battlefield here, he will be in a pretty good spot to make life difficult for his purple opponent. At the same time, purple has landed at a pretty important spot, because he is not really landing from this side, he's landing from the left, so he's basically trying to stop a Skull from occupying this part of the peninsula and hoping that he can somehow secure this part of the map, but he might be a bit too late on that because of the castle, and of course Skull already being quite nicely landed and having a lot of tight TCs and economy, and really playing quite strong indeed so far. He's already having a lot of knights already in the armies, or rather in the economy of Teal, which is exactly the threat I was talking about a bit earlier. Now Steel was a bit too slow to build anything in here, and yeah, he's right now going to pay the price for it. Yet another TC right on the doorstep of Teal, being built by Skull together with Siege Workshop, which should result in pretty easy advance onto the opponent, as obviously there is still not enough defense by the Teal player, and not even by Blue, who is having 2 TCs, but without any kind of land army. Yeah, tough times ahead for you, tough times ahead. Looking at the economy, we have 83 villages for Follow Your Mind, which is quite a lot. 42.69 for the others, whereas 65.53 and 60 for NCs. So that's reasonably equal, let's call it equal, slightly better for CZs, but looking how NCs were quite slow to actually advance onto the mainland, I'm kinda thinking that CZs are having the decided upper hand, and even though they are not winning the water, you can see that Yannick is basically stalling the whole game, not doing anything else. Very nicely played from him, because he was fighting 2 opponents, and this is a pretty big victory for him, because holding 2 opponents just by yourself, is a pretty good feat in itself, so pretty good job in there. Whereas at the bottom it's of course Pedro joining in on the water battle as well as a Viking, and trying to basically hold the situation in here, but it might not be strong enough because those 2 castles, oh well, this is nicely played from Skull, is basically basically a death valley for NC's boats, and they definitely cannot go through this without being touched. Nicely played and nice control by Follow Your Mind together with CZ Skull. Really, quite nice indeed. In the meantime, in the base of Teal, you kinda see where this is going, with Cavaliers already being in, Cap Trams being researched. So that's a pretty good job by Yellow, and well, he's of course slung quite strongly by Follow Your Mind, so nicely played by CZs altogether. Coinage coming in for Andorin. It's also an interesting choice in here, but really, I'm kinda afraid that it's going to be a bit too late for them, and I don't really see how NCs could defend against this, because we don't see any extra army, just Pedro having 2 extra TCs, going basically full on water and hoping that he can defeat his opponents, but so far, unfortunately, it's not happening, and the land seems to be basically in power of only Sniper, and it doesn't seem like that he will be strong enough. But let's not count him out yet, because he's waiting with his army of pikemen in here, potentially some samurais even. From the castle, That is nicely positioned as a defensive building together with those two TCs. But let's see if it's going to be enough or not. Right now, Yellow is trying to push through as he's trying to delete the barracks in here. He probably will. But that also buys some extra time to his cavalry to go to the right side and potentially stop what is happening here from Pedro and delay his economy as much as he can. So nicely played so far. Very nice control by the yellow player so far. And let's see if he can actually finish with everything that is coming his way. Kal is actually researching Pedit archer armor. So I would be expecting maybe hand cannoneers. That could be something. Yeah, hand cannoneers on the left, of course, we already hear them, and that's definitely a correct army. Hand cannoneers with paladins. Yeah, this is pretty strong indeed, and this will be a pretty big problem for NC Sniper to deal anything about. So yeah, nicely played so far. On the left, not really much happening, just a bit of a flare by purple, but well, nice economy by the green player. Yeah, NCs are not going anywhere through the middle in here. So you can see that purple is already moving somewhere else with all his boats, trying to disrupt his opponent somewhere, whereas on the left quite a lot of boats, or rather at the top quite a lot of boats by Yannick, just waiting for the correct moment to engage his opponent below Pedro, and I'm kinda thinking that it might not happen even in this stage of the game. Castle nicely positioned, basically the same as Skull at the bottom, and it seems like that he's slightly moving forward and hoping that he can engage Pedro in some pretty important battle, but with the help of Teal. Well, let's see if it's going to be enough. The numbers are pretty big, so he could be successful in that, and well, we'll be seeing a pretty decisive water battle very soon. You can see that Blue is right now actually retreating as he doesn't think that he has enough. And looking at the mainland, you can see already halberdiers from the Japanese player, and well, he's under fire from trebuchets. That's one extra problem that he doesn't really want to face. And of course, even bombard cannon, so that's a pretty nice idea also to get rid of the trebuchet in here. That shouldn't be really standing for much longer. Yep, goodbye trebuchet, and this should also result into goodbye castle very soon indeed. So there's not going to be all that much of an opposition from the buildings, and with the hand cannoneers being in place, those halberdiers shouldn't be doing any damage at all, really. Okay, so last shot, I kinda think from the trebuchet. And yeah, goodbye. And GG's are already being called because you can see that from the left, Yannick is already moving in as well. But since he was a Viking, he was just spamming castles, and that was enough for the BEP control. And very nicely played by CZs, who are leading 2-1 over New Chapter. So nicely played. And CZs have taken the home map of the New Chapter clan, even after a pretty tough start for Skull. Andorin was having such a huge upper hand above him, but CZs were playing it quite nicely, and they were able to hold on long enough for the strong landing and winning the land altogether. So nicely played by CZs, really nicely played. So let's have a look in the post game with Skull being the MVP, even though he was having pretty strong troubles in the early stage with the water, but well, then he was quite strongly slunk. It was enough. Follow your might. Wow, 22,000 resources. That's such a strong sling. Such a strong sling. And you can see that NCs were almost slinging nothing. Pedro at the very end, it seemed like. But it wasn't really enough to make a difference. And Skull was just too strong for them to deal with in there. Well, GG.